The NFL draft is just a few days away, so of course that begs the question, how many Bulldogs are going to be selected in this year's NFL draft and how many sneak into the first round? We know one of them will be, and that's Aziz Ojulari, but there's been some buzz recently that Tyson Campbell might also find his way into the first round. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot of guys who could be picked, and that's what this video is all about. So let's start breaking it down now. And I do want to start off with the guy who will most likely be selected in the first round Thursday night, and that's Aziz Ojulari, a guy that I was able to watch a ton out of high school. I lived in Marietta when he was a Marietta Blue Devil. I've known him for a while now. Super excited to watch him go and be selected in the first round, but he's had an incredible Georgia career. Remember, he's only really played the last 2 seasons. He did play in the last 2 games of his freshman season where he was injured basically the entire year after tearing his ACL at the end of his high school career. So he didn't play much really at all in his first year, and of course had 2 outstanding seasons the last 2 years. But he measured up at the NFL, well, I guess at his pro day, 6'2", 250, 34.5-inch arms. But in his career, 15 career sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 9.5 of those 15 sacks came last year, and 4 forced fumbles out of the 5 in his career also came last year. So he definitely proved that he was one of the best pass rushers in the entire country. His explosiveness off the ball was something that was allowing him to get pressure each time he went after the quarterback. So he held his own against the run as well, setting the edge. So the guy really does it all. I'd be shocked if he made it past 25. I think the Tennessee Titans have a close eye on him, and a few others as well. The Indianapolis Colts could be an option there. So one of my favorite players since I've covered him for so long. It's going to be really cool to see him drafted in the first round. Another guy that I just tried to mention earlier, Tyson Campbell, former 5-star, multi-year starter at Georgia. Only had 1 career interception, but we saw the speed and to go along with his size, measured at 6'1", 193 pounds, sub 4'4" guy in the 40 as well. He's in the 4.3 range. So that's great speed to go along with that size. And if he can get off blocks a little better, help a little bit more in the run game, I think he could be an excellent pro. But there's a reason he was a 5-star. There's a reason Georgia recruited him as hard as they did. And he won the starting job the last 2 years. So he's a big-time prospect. I thought Eric Stokes might be the guy who gets picked first. He came in at 6'1", 194, so basically the same height and weight as Tyson Campbell. He's a little faster. He's another guy who runs low 4.3s, I think high 4.2s on the right day in the right wind at the right place. But he's another speedster, and he actually made more plays on the ball than Tyson Campbell did last year. His hands are a little questionable still. He'll be the first to tell you that, but he ended his career 78 tackles, 4 interceptions, returned them both back for touchdowns, or 2 of them back for touchdowns last year against Arkansas and Florida, and also had a blocked punt a couple years ago against Missouri that he returned for a touchdown. So the guy is a playmaker. He's got speed. He's got really good size, 6'1", 194 pounds. So he's probably not a first-round guy, but I do think that if he gets past the second round, I would love for my Falcons to draft him early in the third. I think he is a guy who has a lot of potential, only getting better as well. So we've got Aziz Ojulari, first-rounder. Tyson Campbell, maybe first-rounder. Eric Stokes, probably top 3 rounds. Monty Rice, 6 foot, 233 pounds. Dealt with some injuries here and there, but he is a tackling machine. 219 tackles in his career at Georgia. Extremely productive. He's not Roquan Smith. He's probably not Nakobe Dean, but he has been an excellent player, multi-year starter for Georgia, and Glenn Schumann, Dan Lanning, all those guys are going to have only the best things to say about Monty Rice because of his work ethic, his determination, his drive. He's a 3-star from Alabama, and there's a guy that Georgia wanted badly because he's a sideline-to-sideline, just tackling machine. He's physical. He loves contact. There's a lot that he does well, so definitely another guy to keep an eye on. Trey Hill, 6'3.5", 319-pounder, center, multi-year starter for Georgia. Came out of Houston County. I remember him as a 4-star prospect. He was one of the best in the nation at that time. He's about 330 at that time. So he's a guy who has trimmed down a lot and has had a very successful Georgia career. So another guy who was 3 and out, and I do think he'll get picked. I don't know exactly where, but I do think he will be picked at the draft at some point. Ben Cleveland, 6'6", 343 pounds. That's what he weighed in. Not a very good effort on the bench press. That might set him back a little bit, but he's got the size, he's got the experience of playing in the SEC, and he's coming off his best year as a Bulldog. I think one team is going to fall in love with him, so I definitely think he will be picked at some point. Maybe not in the first 3 rounds, but I think shortly after that. Of course, Richard LeCounte, one of the best Bulldog safeties in recent memory, probably the most productive safety or defensive back in general in the Kirby Smart era. Measured in at 5'10 and a half, 196 pounds, pretty good for him, but the guy's as productive as it gets. 176 total tackles, 8 career interceptions, broke up 18 passes, forced 4 fumbles, and recovered 6 more. The guy is, again, he's a playmaker. He has a nose for the football, very instinctual, great in zone coverage, can really come down and deliver a big hit. We've seen it over and over again. Takes great angles to the football. So not only does he make plays on the ball in the passing game, but he helps in the run game as well. Probably going to be picked towards the end of the draft, but still a guy who I think will go. And then another guy is DJ Daniel, the cornerback that Georgia signed a few years ago, 6 foot, 195 pounds, played more 2 years ago than he did last year, but he's another guy with really good speed, and he's got pretty good size as well. He's not a giant, but I wouldn't consider him small at all, and I thought he played really, really well against Jamar Chase in that 2018-2019 SEC championship game. Georgia, remember, got beat pretty soundly, but I thought that DJ Daniel had a pretty good day against Jamar Chase. Of course, they had Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell, so hard for him to really be one of those starters, but he did play a lot. He has some experience, and I think that if he's not picked towards the end of the draft, I think he's a guy that teams would love to sign out of free agency. I thought he's had a pretty nice career considering he was never really a full starter. So that's Aziz, Tyson, Eric Stokes, Monty Rice, Trey Hill, Ben Cleveland, Richard LeCounte, and DJ Daniel there. So that's 8 by my count. Got a lot going on here. But yeah, that's 8 guys. Pretty respectable number. One definite first rounder, maybe 2, but that's kind of what I'm expecting out of these Georgia players in the 2021 NFL draft. What do you think? Who do you think is going to go? How many? And is Aziz going to be the only first rounder? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments section. Head over to Dawg Post for more UGA team and recruiting news, and I'll see you over on the website.